This is Moments of the Movement, Civil Rights and Change in America.
I'm Lonnie Bunch, founding director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Welcome to Moments of the Movement.
When a group of black college students refused to leave a segregated Woolworth's lunch counter in 1960 after being denied service, they ignited a groundswell of sit-ins across the South. These collective sit-ins led to the creation of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC. Making its way to Arkansas in the 1960s, SNCC found a committed worker in teenaged Carrie Young. But even Young's devotion had not prepared her for the illiteracy she would find among the residents as she worked to organize them to vote.
I think Howard Himmelbaum was the first group that come through there, and he came through with a man named Jim Jones from Louisville, Arkansas. I think Bill Hanson may have been with them. It was 4 or 5 of them. And they came and got a meeting with one of the local churches to share with us what they were doing and everything. And at that time, the focus was voter education and trying to abolish poll tax, because at that time, when people went to vote, they had to pay $1 to register to vote. And most of them couldn't even write their name. They just did an X. And of course, their vote probably got flipped on to the side the minute they turned around. If they waited till the end, they probably did it in their faces. So I went to all these meetings, and they wanted to know, if I would work with them and all that. And of course, I said, you have to go ask my parents. And they did, and got permission for me to work with them. And I was probably one of the few girls in the community that just stepped up and did something. I remember another man that was there, Jerry Casey. He was one of the first young men to get involved. And at that time, we had moved to West Helena. We was not in Lexa. We moved to West Helena in 1964, and that was 1965, coming into that school year of 65, 66, I believe it was. And the people, especially the black fathers, they were afraid, because they knew that meant the white community was going to begin to backlash on everything that happened, and the families would have to suffer and stuff. So my dad was like, you need to be careful messing around with them civil rights workers. And that was the only time he ever said anything to me. He never said anything else after that. And years later, I quizzed him about it, And he was like, well, I just was wanting to protect you. I'm the person that sat on this storefront every day, got everybody in West Helena to come by and sign my petition to abolish poll tax. And that was an assignment that Howard Himmelbaum gave me to do, who later on became my husband. We realized that people couldn't read or write. So we got one of the churches to allow us to teach people how to read and write, and specifically to learn how to sign their name. So when it came time to vote, they could register, fill out that application, because one of the things that came up was the white community was trying to force people to have to fill an application out, which is where that voter education application came from. So in order to do that, you needed to know how to read, and specifically, you should at least know how to sign your name. You could get somebody else to fill the application out for you, but you needed to sign your name. So we got one of the churches, I think it was First Baptist Church, that let us use their basement, and a couple of the civil rights workers would work with them on reading and writing a couple of nights a week. And so things like that we had to change around, because we'd get word that the white Klan, or whatever they call themselves, not all of them would, they wanted to fit into that name with just vigilantes. They would wait till it got dark and try to come through there and bring physical harm to the different ones. They did some drive-by, what they call Molotov cocktails that they threw at the civil rights workers' places where they lived. And if it hadn't been for like a pole or something that was right there to block it when they threw it, it would have went into the house. That happened on several occasions. And then they started harassing the civil rights workers by arresting them for being vagrants and take them to jail. And of course, you had to come up with money. And they knew that most of them were either college students or college professors that was just there for the summer, maybe. But most of them, after they got there, they may not have stayed in West Helena, but they went somewhere else and continued to do the work that they were doing there. We had people come in as a result of the first group. We had Julian Bond came, Andrew Young, Stokely Carmichael, I want to say Eldridge Cleaver and Marion Barry, they came through there. Wow. Most of them, they'd come and we'd have a meeting for 2 or 3 days in a church. The other thing they realized matter of fact, I'm the person that sat on this storefront every day, got everybody in West Helena to come by and sign my petition to abolish poll tax. And that was an assignment that Howard Himmelbaum gave me to do, who later on became my husband.
Neither was Young expecting that SNCC would lead her to a forbidden love.
It was secretive to us, let me put it like that, but it wasn't such a secret to most people that was around us, because, when two people care for each other, everybody knows it. You think you're hiding it, but you're not hiding it. As far as in the black community was concerned, maybe 1 or 2 people was concerned about it from the black community. There was a couple of young men that had tried to talk to me before Howard came on the scene, and one of them made the statement, said, "So you gonna take a white man over a black man?" I said, "I haven't taken any man, And we just left it at that. Then I had an older guy who was one of my daddy's friends, or supposed to be one of my daddy's friends. He saw me going to church one Sunday morning and decided to make a derogatory statement toward me. When I got back home, he was sitting on my front porch talking to my daddy. So I just stopped right there and told my daddy what Mr. Ernest had said to me when I was on my way to church. And he got the threat of his life that day. My mom loved Howard. My dad probably did too, but you know how you dads have y'all's way of expressing your feelings and sentiments and everything. My dad was afraid for me. That was really the bottom line. When I asked him later on, how did he really feel about me being in the civil rights movement and everything, he was afraid. He was afraid that his daughter was going to get hurt. He was very afraid. He said as far as Howard, he liked Howard. He said he didn't feel like he would have treated him any different had he been a black man. But my mom, she made sure that Howard knew how she felt about it, She thought we was married before we got married. She did tell me that later on. When I invited her to come to my wedding, she was like, "I thought y'all was already married." But we weren't, we just worked close together and everything, went on different trips as we had marches and things like that.
Oral histories were conducted by the Southern Oral History Program in the Center for the Study of the American South at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill on behalf of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and the Library of Congress. Moments of the Movement, Civil Rights, and Change in America comes to you from new visions, new voices, expanding the American conversation because it's time to hear the difference. With support from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Visit us online at newvisionsnewvoices.org.